If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Check it out now.
Wednesday, May 14th, 7-year anniversary of passbook being ruled unconstitutional. Mark, it's Gill Alexander. It's a YouTube version of our podcast, the Beating the Book podcast. This is the Q1 Major League Baseball derivative show. We're going to go through stats, Major League Baseball betting stats, money line, run line. We're going to do starting pitchers. We're going to do umpires. We'll do first fives. We'll do first innings. And this is actually a longer running series than the NFL Megapod actually is. This was the first thing that I started doing. And I did it with this gentleman who was kind enough to be here after all these years. We do it Q1, Q2, Q3. Basewinner, Mark Borchard from an undisclosed location somewhere in the desert. How you doing, Mark?
Joe, I'm doing good. This is a good show. I love doing this show. It's fun.
It's the best. It's so much fun. At least it is for the baseball hardos, right? For the baseball nerds. If you want to geek out with us, this is what it's about. And as we like to say, it's not necessarily what we're saying to be, predictive. It's what's narrative and what might be predictive in all of this. That's sort of the task here that we'll go through. And the nice thing about having you here, Mark, is that not only do you have historical umpire stats to compare this year's to, but maybe at the end we can just talk about your first impressions of the Major League Baseball season here in the first quarter of the season. Let's begin with the most profitable moneyline teams and the least profitable moneyline teams in Major League Baseball thus far this year. This is the old bizarro exercise. If you happen to bet on this team every single game, whether home, road, favorite, underdog, doesn't matter. If you just bet on this team every single game thus far this year, what would be your net profit? What would be your net loss? Widely available. I'm looking at covers.com for this. The most profitable team this year so far, Mark, what do you have it as?
Tigers.
Number one. According to Covers, you'd be up 7.5 units if you bet them blindly every single time. They feel like that will be sustainable, yes?
I don't know. I like the Twins in that division. It's hard for me to, Scooble's my number one guy too. But I think that there's a question at least are these guys overperforming the first part of the year? I tend to look back to last July 1st. I mean, roughly it's 500 plate appearances per guy, but I mean, you can kind of get a gauge looking back to that date. And I think that they're overperforming a bit. I don't know how they're going to balance the bullpen. I'm not overly impressed with their bullpen, but and a lot of it has to do with the pitching numbers for the Twins. That I really like the Twins pitching numbers. So I guess we'll see.
But it's Tigers in terms of the most profitable so far. Again, blind betting, bizarro exercise. If you bet on them every game this season, Detroit number one. I have Cleveland as number two. Their division mates, the Cleveland Guardians. The Padres number three, the Mets number four, the Cardinals number five. That checks out for you?
Say that again?
I got Tigers, Guardians, Padres, Mets, Cardinals. 5 most profitable so far.
Mine's a little bit different. I wanted to give a shout out. I always do this to Carl Sack. He puts together Killer Sports, and I think it's really important that we recognize our fellow handicappers that really help us out as somebody who's been in the industry for a long time. So I've used Killer Sports. It's similar. It goes Tigers, Guardians, Mets, Padres, Royals, Cubs, Cardinals. So similar.
They have the Royals as the 7th most, right? Cubs, then Royals 6, 7. So depending on the line you are using, closing line, what book you're using it at, there's going to be some difference perhaps from the source. But generally speaking, those will line up. As far as the worst, probably no surprise here. The Colorado Rockies, who, no matter how you break it down, they're 7-35. Yes, they're a dog in everything. But when you're 7-35, you're going to be the team that hemorrhages cash the most. So if you bet the Rockies in every single one of these 42 games, bizarro exercise, and by the way, if you're doing that, you're probably doing something wrong here, you'd be down 23 units already. Good God. Pittsburgh, the Pirates would be second worst. The Orioles, interesting, third worst, because they're going to be favorites probably in a lot of these games that have gone by so far. White Sox, fourth worst. Milwaukee Brewers, fifth worst. There's no end in sight for the Rockies, is there? This will continue.
You know what? I'm a little bit more bullish on the Rockies than a lot of people are. Although, as I say that, if you go to Prospectus, if you go to Fangraphs, they're right about where I'm at from a year end projected wins, which I have them at 4. I mean, it's still low. 47.5 is what I have them at. And I thought, well, that's against at least the betting market. But if you go to Prospectus and Fangraphs, they're right with me. So I don't feel as bad about that. But they're really hard to watch, Gill. They're really tough.
Yes.
To watch the team. I don't like, you figure, and you have to kind of keep this, I think, in the back of your mind that these guys are still at the highest level of baseball. But when you watch the team play, you don't get that feeling at all. So it's really hard, because if you model the stuff, you're gonna, at least I have been the last week, you're gonna get value for the most part on the Rockies. One game I didn't get value on the Rockies with was the San Diego game with Pivetta that they lost. So, but I think by and large, for me at least, I'm going to probably back the Rockies in the betting market more than I'm going to bet against them, Gil.
It's we've talked about this before with the Rockies. It's just sort of my theory. We'll put it out again. It's not only mine. I'm sure others share it as well. The problem with it is that it's Coors Field. It's not about hitting home runs. It's the dimensions of Coors Field. It's a prairie. They essentially have to roster a team that is tailored to Coors, and then they have to figure out when they go on the road, like, how does that work out? Because sliders don't slide as much at Coors, breaking balls don't break as much. And so when you then go on the road, there is a big adjustment for those hitters. I actually was friends with someone who used to play for them, who used to talk about this all the time. It's one thing if you have Larry Walker, right, or Todd Helton or Charlie Blackmon, who are good hitters anywhere. But if you're with this kind of outfit, it just becomes that much more difficult to adjust to the road. By the way, if we break these down, home and road, the number one money line. So overall, it's Detroit is the most profitable. But if you did it, the most profitable home team, and I don't know if there's anything to this, it's St. Louis and the Mets, 1 and 2 in terms of the most profitable home teams. By the way, both of those teams are negative if you bet them blindly on the road on the money line. But what I was getting to there was the Rockies, who are by far the least profitable, right? By far the team that will hemorrhage the most cash from you. They are 8 units to the negative at home, 15 to the negative on the road. So that theory kind of checks out. It's just, they are just as bad as they are generally. They are more miserable on the road. And so it's, by the way, it's Rockies, Pirates, Orioles, White Sox, Milwaukee overall in terms of the worst money line teams. As far as the run line is concerned, and as what's the phrase I always use on this? The de facto sort of power ranking of these teams. So if you win, you're winning by more than 1 run. And if you lose, sometimes you lose by just 1 run. So the run line, again, blind run line bets, whether favorite or dog on all these teams all year. Mark, the number 1 run line team in baseball this year is?
It's your San Diego Padres.
That's right. It's my. He says my.
And they are your team, aren't they?
They're my team for the month of May. I have them for most wins in the month of May. They're in 6th place right now. Yes, it's them. 10.25 units to the positive if you bet them every game on the run line this year. They are the number 1 team. By the way, the Tigers, I believe, are number 2, which is what I'm seeing right here. The worst run line team in all of baseball. Hint, the Rockies are the 2nd worst. They are not the single worst. The worst is?
I'm looking at this and I'm laughing at myself because I played the Angels on the run line. The Angels are the worst run line team versus the best run line team. So
that's right.
How great a play is that, Basewinner, right?
You're talking about last night, which, by the way, it went 4-4 into the 9th, and Fernando Tatis hits a 2-run homer to sort of have that manifest once again, which is, complete vagary of the game, but there it is. When things go well, they go well. When they go bad, they go bad. So the Angels are the worst team, 15.23 units to the negative, followed by the Rockies and the Pittsburgh Pirates. So the bad teams are bad. That's for sure. Angels on the
one of the teams that I'm looking at this, Gil, the Diamondbacks are the 5th worst. That's surprising to me.
On the run line?
On the run line, yeah. Betting on the run line. It goes, what I got is Angels, Rockies, Pirates, Orioles, D-backs. Wow.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's do a brief aside here. When it comes to the NL West teams, because you and I texted a little bit about this yesterday, I bet an exacta, not an exacta, pardon me. I bet a matchup for the World Series. I bet the Padres versus the Tigers the other day, 66-1. Doesn't matter who wins the World Series, that's the matchup. I feel like the Padres are the best team. Now, I know the way that the MLB postseason works, you're sort of leaving it up to a bit of a crapshoot. As Billy Beane famously said, my shiz doesn't work in the playoffs. So there is that. But you don't have the Padres ranked 1 or 2 in that division, do you?
I don't. I'm a big fan of this D-backs offense, and I don't feel so bad. Like looking at, this is from July 1st of last year, team with the best weighted runs created plus in baseball. And it's like a lot of plate appearances. It's 4,700 plus plate appearances. The number one team, they're better than the Yankees, they're better than the Dodgers, is the Arizona Diamondbacks. So I don't feel as bad as I look at that, because there's a lot of stuff I do, tricky adjustments and that sort of thing. And they're number one in my offensive ratings. And I'm like, well, gosh, how can I have them over the Dodgers? But I mean, if you look at the weighted runs created plus, which is what all the cool people are doing right now, and a pretty decent time frame, they're number one, Gil.
Number one. Okay, I don't know if there's anything that we learned from that little exercise on the full game money line or run line. Maybe there is, maybe there wasn't. I promise you there is something we're going to learn in the 5-inning one coming up. Let's go to pitchers, starting pitchers. Now, this is even more bizarro than that first exercise, which is, let's say when a certain starting pitcher is on the mound, that you back that pitcher, whether favorite or underdog, every single time they take the hill. This is ridiculous. Do you know who the number one, if you just did that, do you know who the most profitable pitcher is in baseball if you backed his team every time he took a start this year? Robbie Ray of the Giants, who yesterday was a great example. He gives up 3 runs in the first, right? And the Giants make up for it, a grand slam, and then they go on to win the game. The Giants are 9-0 in Robbie Ray starts. So this is one of these things that we're trying to determine, is this just narrative? Is there something predictive in this? There's clearly nothing predictive in this, correct?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, the guy's good and they're underdogs, and I don't know. Maybe it's predictive. You're right though. It's mostly descriptive.
Mostly descriptive. By the way,
the Job thing. The next guy, Job.
That's right.
Is amazing, because like this guy. Now this is the epitome of these guys with high ceilings and great stuff and much ballyhooed guy. He hasn't done really that much. Like if you look at his pitching expected stats, and that might change. I mean, I think if you look to the eye, the guy looks great, but he's pitched pretty much like if you use expected metrics, he hasn't pitched good expected metrics, and yet he's there. So
yeah,
to me that's descriptive.
It's Robbie Ray, by the way, 9-0 when he takes the hill. The Giants are 9-0 when he takes the hill. Jackson Jobe, what Mark is referring to, the Tigers are 7-0 when Jackson Jobe has a start for the Tigers. Then it's Ben Lively, not Blake Lively, Ben Lively of the Guardians. They're 7-2 when he's on the hill. Griffin Canning of the Mets is 4th. Mets are 7-1 when he's pitching. Casey Mize of the Tigers is 5th. So there's 2 Tigers pitchers in the top 5. Tigers are 6-1 when he's on the hill. Then it's Colin Ray of the Cubs, 5-1. Nick Pivetta of the Padres. Padres are 6-2 when he is on the hill. And based on the pluses or the minuses, or whether how big of a favorite, how big of a dog, how little of a dog or favorite they are in the games, that's how those numbers shake out net-wise in terms of the ranking. How about the worst? This is actually more interesting to me usually, because inevitably you'll get this great ace pitcher and the team just never performs for them. The San Francisco Giants, for Logan Webb, is going on like 2 years of the Giants never giving him run support, for instance. But I don't see him at the bottom here. The absolute worst. We just mentioned there were 2 Tigers in the top 5 most profitable. The least profitable, in other words, the one that has caused the most damage to bettors, is also a Tiger, the complete opposite end of the spectrum. You know who that is?
Yeah, mine's a little bit different, but he's number 3 in a worse way. Flaherty. He's the only guy I've bet on the Tigers this year. That's crazy.
Can you imagine that? Those 3 guys hanging out like, why doesn't this work out for me ever? Jack Flaherty, the Tigers are 1-7 in his starts. I think you probably have either Kyle Freeland of the Rockies, they're 1-8, or Charlie Morton of the Orioles, they're 0-6 with him on the hill. Who do you got?
Morton is number 1.
Yeah. I'll tell you, and some of this is so unlucky, right? So there's a couple Rockies in the bottom 5, right? That makes sense. Kyle Freeland and German Marquez, who I feel like they've been pitching for the Rockies for 20 years each, right? They're in the bottom 5.
Freeland I was looking at that, sorry to jump in, but I had to say this because it was just amazing to me. He makes $16 million a year. Like, really?
Oh, dude.
Wow.
There are so many of these pitchers, like they got $50 million in their bank account, like, and we think about them and we're like, wow, we used to bet on this guy. He was so mediocre, like a Jason Marquis kind of pitcher, right? It's like, yeah, I got $60 million in my bank account. But what I was saying is some of these, so it makes sense when it's the Rockies because they suck no matter what. And so whoever's on the mound, you're kind of going to just sort of fall in that category. Freeland and Marquez do. But like I look at, you talk about last night's game between the Angels and the Padres, right? Jose Soriano didn't really pitch badly for the Angels. Yet, the Angels are 2-7 when he's on the mound. Yesterday was a perfect example. They played like a little league team. They had throwing errors. He did have 2 wild pitches, though. Let me stop there. So he did cause 2 runs, or one of his was a wild pitch. I think a relief pitcher was the other one. So he was responsible for that one, I guess. But, it's just, that's how the cookie crumbles with some of this. And I guess the question is any of that predictive in any way? Like, is this likely to sustain either to the good or bad for any of these guys? Can you say that as a handicapper?
I don't think, just looking at that number, no, you can't.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't know what, I mean, you can look at a lot of numbers. I don't know if you can definitively say anything, Well, that's part of handicapping, right?
Well, that's the whole point of the session. So let's get to something that we do think is somewhat predictive. So this pertains to totals bettors a lot, but I guess also in terms of sides and games. But totals bettors will always find umpires fascinating. It used to be like a site like StatFox. You could go there and you could find out umpire rotations that morning for every particular series. You obviously have a quick hack to that, both on Twitter in terms of how you determine once the home plate umpire is the home plate umpire for one night. Then what do? They just rotate first, second, third base.
They go first base to home plate.
Okay.
So you got to know. You don't know the first game, so you're kind of rolling the dice. There's a way you can kind of tell based on the crews and stuff, but you miss half the time. It's not worth spending the time on. But
what's the Twitter? What's the Twitter site that always gives the umpire assignments?
It used to be Umpire Crew. I don't know if that's still there, but gosh, I should probably start putting this up on my site. It'd be an easy thing to do. I'm just so lazy. I do so much behind the scenes.
Oh, you should totally do it though.
I tell myself I should just put it on the site because it actually is kind of low lying from a standpoint of getting it from behind the scenes to there. But yeah, because you just go on the MLB feed and get those first base umpires that as soon as they're announced for the next day's games, Gill.
Yeah, I think you should. But okay, here's so far this year, and now we'll compare this to Mark's historical because he has umpire stats for many years. But so far this year, and again, we're only doing Q1. It's only a quarter of the season thus far, as teams round the bend of like the 40-41 game mark of the season. Bill Miller, there's an old familiar name. 5 out of the 6 games that he has called balls and strikes this year have gone over. Chris Guccione, Alan Porter, Gabe Morales, Lance Barrett, Ron Kulpa, Edwin Moscaso, and Clint Vondrak. All of them, 4 out of the 5 games that they have been behind home plate have gone over the total. Again, the totals vary, but again, what does that say? That says if it matches with Mark's historical, what does it say? That perhaps the strike zone is the size of a thimble. That it's a very small strike zone, and so it's not very pitcher friendly, and so you get overs. Do any of those names check out jibe historically for over umpires?
I got stopped because you said Bill Miller's an over umpire, 5 of 6, and he's so not an over umpire by the numbers. In fact, he's the number 2. He's got 96 games. There's another guy above him that's more of an under. umpire called Jacob Metz, but he's only got 23 games. So this is last 3 seasons. I think it's from the start of 2022. So 22, 23, 24, and then 25. His strikeout percentage is 24.2. And then the walk percentage is 6.8. So what I do is I do it's like an ERA based on strikeout percentage and walk percentage. And so from a run suppression standpoint, he's like 18% run suppression based on that. So it's interesting that he's
bucking
over
his normal behavior, in other words. Okay.
Yeah, and that would make sense. I mean, if you watch him umpire, it's like, really, dude? And that's the problem. They put the ABS thing in spring training. I hate the name. It's automatic ball strikes, but I always think about the car stopping, the ABS brakes. I mean, that's really what it tells my brain. But it worked great. It was quick. It got the right call based on the strike zone. And then now you can't use it in regular season, which it kind of sucks, right?
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Yeah, listen, the quality of the umpiring in some of these games is so bad, it completely changes the direction of these games, and you want to scream at the TV when you're watching them. We'll get a match. By the way, the 5-inning and the first inning stuff is coming up. I want to do the under umpires because I'm sure we're going to have a match here. So Austin Jones has called balls and strikes. He's been behind home plate for 4 games this year. They've all gone under. Same with Eric Backus. All 4 of the games he's umpired, they've all gone under. 4 out of 5 under. John Lipka, Adam Hamari. These are all according to covers, by the way. These are widely available. Lance Barksdale, 4 of 5 under. Corey Blazer, 4 out of 5 under. DJ Rayburn, 4 out of 5 under. And Mark Ripperger, I believe that's how you pronounce it, 4 out of 5 under. Do any of those match?
Rayburn's somewhat of a under umpire. He's like top 20 guy. But I think that what's interesting is maybe this will flip around if we do this later into the season. Because I don't know, they really, those guys have only umpired 5 games, really.
According to this.
The guys at the top. Yeah.
According to this. Maybe it's wrong. Yeah. By the way, where's our boy, where's Brian McKnight? Or was our McKnight guy, Brian Knight? Where's he?
He's on there, Brian Knight. Somewhere on there, he is. I saw him. I don't think he was like man with he was like a man without a crew. But Brian Knight, he's more of an over guy, Gill. 3% to the over.
I don't know where he falls this year so far. That's the problem with when we do Q1, Q2, Q3. Sometimes Q1 doesn't reveal as much stuff as early as Q2 and Q3 does. But Q1 does for this. And I want to go to first 5 innings. So now we go off the more widely available stuff, and these will get less and less available until we get to the first innings, which is completely proprietary stuff. But this is first 5. And from year to year, I used to do these manually, and then OddsShark took care of it. I don't think OddsShark did it last year for some reason. I couldn't find it. Somebody else did it last year, but now OddsShark is doing this again. So thank you to them for this. They're keeping first 5 money line records. The number 1 most profitable first 5 teams. So for those who bet first 5s and not full games, if you bet this team, same bizarro exercise we did for full game earlier, but this for first 5s, and remember, pushes are involved here. The most profitable first 5 team in baseball this year, Mark, is?
The Yankees.
No, they are 4th most profitable. 3rd is the Red Sox. 2nd is the Tigers. Remember, they were the most profitable full game. They're the 2nd most profitable first 5. The most profitable first 5 team thus far this year, remember, favorite, dog, whatever it is, you bet them every single game, by almost double the Tigers in first place is the Chicago Cubs. Now, of course, they have injuries at that position now, right? Imanaga being the most notable here of late, Justin Steele before that. So the Cubs are 26-11-6, first 5 thus far this year. By the way, if you broke it down home and road, most of that is on the road. They are by far the most profitable road first 5 team. They're 14-5-3 away from Wrigley. Most profitable, by the way, at home happens to be the team that finished in 5th overall. And this is the team I want to highlight. Because do you remember what happened last year when we did this? So the big revelation of last year's Derivatives show was, remember how bad the White Sox were? What were they, 41 and 121 on the season? But
oh, yeah, that's right. We were doing to lead after 5 and then to lose the game. And it happened a lot, more than the pricing was. So you would have won money on it. That's the key, right?
It was incredible. So they were 41 and 121 in real life, a absolutely terrible baseball team. But first 5, they were among the most profitable teams. And so what Mark's referring to is that some books allow for this double bet, win first 5, lose game. And you did the numbers on this. And it's like it was a massive profit if you had bet this, because it hit 14 times or something. And you're getting
it was good. It was up a bunch. It was double-digit units.
And you're getting 7 to 1 on it or something on average. You were getting some
7.5, 8 to 1, something like that. At some point, yeah.
Okay,
yep.
So maybe they won't be as bad as 41 and 121 this year. But the 5th most profitable first 5 team in all of baseball thus far this year is the Chicago White Sox. So it's happening again. So in real life, what are they in real life? They're 13 and 29, I believe they are. On the first 5, they are 15, 17, and 10. So if you bet them blindly, you'd be up 3.5 units on the first 5, and yet they still suck in real life. So what does this tell us? That the White Sox pen just absolutely gets crushed once again. Inning 6, 7, and beyond.
Yeah, I think that there might be. I mean, you have to go really deep into it, but I think there might be something there as far as looking historically. Maybe take the bottom 3 or 4 bullpens over the last 3 years and kind of see if how many leads they blew. And it would make sense. I mean, they have a bad bullpen, you're going to blow a lot of leads. I mean, hell, if you got a good bullpen, you're going to blow a lot of leads. Yeah. Talk about the Blue Jays last night.
Where the Padres the last 5 games, right? They've all of a sudden flipped from being the greatest to all of a sudden sucking the last 5 games. So it happens, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And so it would be probably more likely to happen. I mean, it's not a hot take if the bullpen's bad. But the key is, can you take advantage of that end game? And there's so much opportunity there. I think because I'm not doing any that much of it. And so, if I'm not doing it, then I think that there's probably some opportunity there for somebody who is more motivated to do in-game stuff.
Well, okay, so that's the thing. So that's the thing about this. There's so many ways to bet a baseball game. So this is the 5th consecutive quarter now where the White Sox are competent, if not good, first 5, and then it all goes to crap the next part of the game. So you either can, so this now, we talk about what's narrative, what's predictive. This is kind of sustainable because it's already been sustained. So I'm not sure this is ever going to end with them. And so there are in-game opportunities you can make on the White Sox if you are inclined to do that, or what Mark was just talking about, what we were just talking about before, which is the pre-flop for the books that offer this. Not every book offers this. But what is it called? The double result, I believe it's called, Mark?
It's called double result, and they've really so year to year they've lowered the payouts on them. And the guy Kyle, who hosts the show, I'm on BetUS MLB show, he almost played those exclusively, and he hasn't played many of those this year, and he's just griping about how they reduced the payout on them. And I think that just goes to show you, Gill, though, like if you get something that's profitable, the books are going to adjust. You've got to do something else. So it really sucks. That's part of the game, right?
Well, if you have schmucks like us talking about it and making it public, right? And your friend as well talking about it and making it public, then they'll figure it out and they'll go away if they hadn't noticed them themselves. By the way, if you're wondering who are the worst first 5 teams, this will be of no shock to you. It is the Colorado Rockies, who, any way you slice it, they're the worst of everything, right? You would be down if you bet them first 5 every game. And again, if you're doing that, what the hell are you doing? Rockies are 8, 26, and 8 first 5, so you'd be down 14.35 units per Odds Shark. Marlins are the second worst. The Astros are the third worst. The Astros would have cost you over 10 units betting first 5 thus far this year. That's a bit surprising. Rays fourth worst, Nationals fifth worst. Wow. Astros third worst. Okay. I don't know if that's sustainable, or if that's going to sustain, but anyway. Best home. I mentioned that the best away was the Cubs, but the best home is the White Sox. The White Sox at home first five, 10, 5, and 6, up 7.8 units. It's amazing. Worst.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. And again, the worst, I mentioned the Rockies are worse away from Coors. They're the worst they're the worst first five team on the road. 14.35, I said total they would have lost you. 10.25 of that is on the road. The worst home first five team is the Rays. 8.3 units to the negative. So, I don't know. I always find that stuff particularly interesting. Because
that one's interesting because remember before the season started, I said, well, yeah, they build this team based on Tropicana Field, and now they're not playing in Tropicana Field, so maybe there's something there, Gil. Maybe.
Well, so that's the thing. So I'm in Spanky does this MLB handicapping contest this year, which he started doing at Spank Odds. Are you familiar with this, by the way, Mark? Are you familiar with this contest?
I'm familiar with it because I've heard him talk about it on your show.
Yeah.
But personally, I'm not involved in playing it.
Well,
although it's not a bad idea, it's free. Isn't it?
It's free. So again, all he asks is you download Spank Odds, right? If you download Spank Odds, and I think you can go to spankodds.com for that. Let me make sure that I'm talking about the right thing here. Let me make sure I'm going to the right place. Spankodds.com, and right up on the screen, it's the MLB handicapping contest. It'll tell you how to enter. But what it is a $10,000 first prize, $3,000 second prize, $2,000 third prize, and then fourth place through eighth place are $1,000 each. So 8 places get the prize, but the number one prize is $10,000. But basically what it is it was from the beginning of the season to the All-Star break, but you can enter at any time. The catch is, and by the way, it's only full game or first five sides, or full game or first five totals. You can also do run lines, but it's all pre-flop. There's no props. There's no derivatives besides run line, money lines and totals for first five or for full games. And they use the odds at both Circa or at bookmaker Chris on offshore. So it's one of those two lines that they use, and you can take the best line of whatever you want to do. But essentially, if you entered it now, I'm glad we're doing this on May 14th, because if we waited any longer, this would be done. You have to have at least 240 of those by the All-Star break to qualify. So even me having done it I started, I think, in early April. So I wasn't there at the very beginning. Even me, like the way that I handicap baseball, I'm only like a third of the way there in terms of volume. But what I was getting at with this was, you were talking about the ballpark in Tampa Bay. Sacramento, right? Sutter Health Field in Sacramento. So many of my picks have been playing totals there. Like, it's got to be at least 10 of, I don't know about 10, but somewhere around 10 of my 80 that I've already made are totals in Sacramento. Again, talk about a team where the roster construction might not have been prepared for a ballpark change. Oakland had this massive foul ground, so there was an incentive for Oakland to have fly ball pitchers. And so a lot of those balls would turn into outs in Oakland. But in Sutter Health Field, which seats 14,000, it's like one of these spring training fields you and I used to go to in Arizona, Mark, where it's like just grass, right? Like people sitting on like grass hills once you get past first and third base. And so it's like there's no foul ground whatsoever. And I'm just saying, if you are a aspiring baseball handicapper and you want to compete for that, spankodds.com, go there. 240 picks, though, between now and the All-Star break. So you got 2 months. What's that going to be like?
Oh, that's plenty. I'm making 15 plays a day. So
well, for you, it's good. Easy. For you, it's easy. No. But you'd have to average.
Well, the thing is on that I always call it Sutter home field because I want to drink wine because I'm losing bets on the under there. No, I'm just kidding. I did like an analysis there on the AAA team. So the River Cats, and the River Cats are San Francisco's AAA team. Yes. And it actually showed it as a pitcher park relative. So this is relative to the very high altitude PCL to Pacific Coast League venues.
Known
But
for
I
its
thought,
offense. Yeah, known for offense.
yeah, and so I thought, well, maybe these guys just don't have enough power. It hasn't manifested. So I did. Elliot Ramos actually hit better on the road than he did at Sutter Health Park. So, and he had a lot of sample too. So I know it's one player, but so I don't know. Like I know you've been successful. You're hitting a lot of. I'm not sold on it yet, Gil.
You're not sold on it? Okay. Well, it hasn't been. I mean, it hasn't been a majority of my picks, but it has been a nice component of my. I think I'm 80 in, so I'm like a third of the way there. But it's
well, to tie Oakland into it is just win, baby. I mean, the thing is, you're winning. That there's a lot to be said. Just keep doing it, right? Until if you lose a couple, then okay, then you stop. But
well, my thing is though, I don't play it every day. I play it when there's 2 fly ball pitchers. I play the over, right? If it's not 2 fly ball pitchers, I stay away from it. So it's not a blanket thing.
One thing that I heard Kotsay talk about, and I think that this is a true thing. He says that the wind is a big deal there. He equated it. He was on an interview on MLB radio. It's a really good interview. I like him. He's a good interview. He equated it to Wrigley Field. And I thought, gosh, of all the places. So I would make sure that you're looking at that wind before you do it either way, Gil.
For sure I would. Anyway, it's been an awesome contest. I invite everybody to join it too. There's only like 200 plus people in it so far. 200 plus people. I am doing very well in it, but like I said, I'm still only a third of the way to the amount of bets I need to make, to the number of bets I need to make. So like my confidence in this being sustainable is very low, right? Because I'm in 13th place right now, but with 160 more games to play, I could end up in 100th for all I know. We'll see. But everybody check that out, spankodds.com, $10,000 first prize. All right, to the first innings. Now, a lot of people like to bet these, yes, will there be a run in the first inning or no, colloquially called Yerfies and Nerfies. People love this stuff. Are we allowed to curse on YouTube? I'm not sure. Anyway, so
we can. No, yeah, I do it every day. So
you do it every day?
You can.
All right, people love
every day.
People love this shit.
A couple.
Okay,
yeah.
So here's the deal. So we've been doing this on this derivatives, beating the book derivatives, MLB derivatives show for years and years, over a decade on this podcast. And this is sort of proprietary. You won't hear this anywhere else. So part of this is, can you use this to bet your yes or no's? Maybe, maybe not. It's up to you. It's not how I used to bet yes and no's, by the way, but it might help you. So where I'm talking about opposing batters' on base percentage against pitchers in just the first innings, just that frame. The absolute worst, we'll start with the worst, then we'll go to the best. The worst starting pitcher in baseball, minimum 30 plate appearances against them, just accumulated in the first inning alone this year. Who's the worst, Mark? Do you have any idea? Any guesses?
I don't have this. I'm sorting this and it's timing out, so I don't know.
Emerson Hancock. Emerson Hancock of the Seattle Mariners, I believe he is. Yes, he's the worst. 516 opposing on base percentage against him in the first inning this year. Jordan Hicks of the Giants, second worst, 500 OBP against first inning. Connor Gillespie, Marlins, third worst, 471 against. Jeffrey Springs of Oakland, of the Athletics, who plays games in Sacramento, right? Fourth worst, 460 on base percentage against. Gavin Williams, fifth, and then it doesn't surprise anybody, 2 Rockies pitchers are sixth and seventh, the aforementioned German Marquez and Kyle Freeland. So they're both at the bottom there. By the way, I should mention, and this is where it gets really, really ridiculous, Robbie Ray, who we just mentioned was the single most profitable pitcher in all of baseball if you just back the Giants every time that he stepped on the hill to start a game, he is actually the 12th worst first inning pitcher in all of baseball, 419 OBP against. So again, this stuff is kind of quirky. There
might be something on. There might be something on that, and that's why I like to listen to the managers talk, because some of them are just like colloquialisms and total bullshit. But some of like Lovello, like that guy, like he's into analytics. He's a smart guy, and he was talking last night. He's like, yeah, I mean, when Robbie, so he's actually has a really good relationship with him. Obviously, when he gets in a rhythm, he can't be stopped. So we needed to get to him in the first inning, which they did, and then they didn't do anything, So I don't know. I think that there's something to that. I just wanted to weigh in on that Robbie Ray thing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny we're doing this today because we just talked about how the Angels and the Padres with the run line thing, the Angels are the worst run line, the Padres are the best run line. It completely manifested in the most dramatic way last night. 2-run homer from a tie game in the 9th by Tatis. So it's like the most unlikely thing to happen, happens. And that continues with that chasm between those two teams, top and bottom. And then the Robbie Ray thing exactly happens that way last night, right? He gets shelled in the first inning, or at least gives up 3 runs. And then the Giants come back and win the game for him. So there you go. All right. What about the best? So the best pitchers in the first inning, just the first innings, again, minimum 30 plate appearances against, talking about opposing on-base percentage. You have any idea who the best is? Single best in baseball.
I've got it's not Wheeler. He only has 29 plate appearances,
That's
but
right.
He's up there.
30 minimum.
And then Eovaldi gets up there.
Number one, Nathan Eovaldi. 161 on base against. That's interesting, though, that you said that. Who was it? Wheeler is just 1 plate appearance shy of being on that list. Yeah, so I just
he is, and it's and that's probably good. He's not facing a lot of people in the first inning. That's a good thing,
right? Exactly. So I just artificially cut it off at 30. So maybe Wheeler would have been in there too. Number 2 best, by the way, behind Eovaldi with the minimum 30 required. Seth Lugo of the Royals, 194 against. And then Shota Imanaga, who's now on the IL, he was third or tied with Jameson Taillon. Both of them at 200. Jameson Taillon's a Cubby too, right? The two teammates right there. So there you go. They're both at 200. Then it's Tarek Skubal, a name you would expect to be there. He is 5th on that list. Also in sort of the top 10, Schwellenbach is there. Max Fried is just outside the top 10. Surprisingly, Verlander, 235 against, Skeens, 242 against. I would not have expected those two to be back-to-back in that category.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You know what's amazing to me looking at this is there's a guy, Carmen Mlodz, they say, on Pittsburgh, and it's spelled Mlodz. Like, how do you get Mlodz from that? Like,
Mlodz.
We were hacking around with that name for a couple of weeks, and then I heard the Pittsburgh broadcaster say, "Well, gosh, we've been saying this thing wrong the whole time, Gil."
It's like if you're in New England, if you're in Massachusetts, there's the town that they say it's Worcester, Mass. That's how they pronounce it, and it's like W 50,000 letters, and they're like Worcester. I'm like, how do you get Worcester out of it? That's how they get it. Same sort of thing. All right, so those are the first inning numbers. I don't know if that's going to help people or not, but the 5-inning stuff is interesting. Here's what I want to ask you as we close this out, Mark. I'm curious, by your numbers, and people who don't know you, again, Mark is at Basewinner, basewinner.com. Mark's show is on BetUS. How often a week do you do that show, Mark?
I do it 4 days a week. Wednesday's my day off, but like on Wednesdays, I always answer the call for Gill on my day off. That's
right. He's such a good dude. He still does a numbers game on the radio side. He does this podcast quarterly on Wednesdays, which is very nice of you. By your numbers, Mark, so thus far into the season, by your numbers, what is the team that is overperforming the most in baseball? What is the team that is underperforming the most? In other words, what you see in the standings is largely smoke and mirrors based on your numbers.
Well, you're going to like this one, Gil. The Guardians are 25-17. I think they should be about 20-22.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that in the standings, they have overperformed in the actual standings. And then
Mark says the reason I like that is because I have my number one pre-flop season win total was Guardians under. So I'm completely with you on that.
Yeah, and if you look at that, it looks like a 500 team just looking at the the weighted runs created plus, the xFIP minus, and the defensive runs saved. And then the A's are overperforming too. They're 22-20, should be 17-24. A lot of that number, though, is defensive runs saved and how lousy they've been. Minus 38 defensive runs saved in 42 games. It almost gives them a run head start to the negative. It's amazing that they're able to win on that. And that's probably of those numbers of weighted runs created plus, xFIP minus, and defensive runs saved, that's probably the most descriptive of all those numbers, Gill.
Interesting. What about the opposite? Who's like completely underperforming?
In the standings, the Yankees are 24-18, and by the numbers, they should be 29-12 or 29-13. Weighted runs created plus 133. I believe that leads all of baseball. It does. In fact, it goes Yankees, Dodgers, Cubs in that order for weighted runs created plus. But that team, and then the other team that should have more wins, and they're actually below 500, the Blue Jays, 20-21. They should be 24-17 by the numbers, Gil.
Okay, so the other thing that I glean from that, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, is then performances like the Orioles being really bad, 15-24, the Giants, for instance, being really good at a record of 25-18. I'll use those two teams as perhaps teams that before the season people really didn't expect to have those records necessarily. That's by and large kind of how bad or good they are, is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty close. I mean, Giants 25-18 in the regular standings. It should be 23-20. So they're 2 games off. But and then the Orioles 15-24, 17-22 would be a better record. So they should be a little bit better than they are in the standings, but pretty close to what they've performed. That Orioles team is hard from an offensive standpoint. You're looking at a 95 weighted runs created plus. I think that'll probably regress to the good. The pitching there is they're getting our pal Zach Efron back, and Grayson Rodriguez will come back too. So they have to. Those guys are pretty decent, but Povich really hasn't worked out the way that they wanted him to, so. I don't know. They're so deep into it too. They're 9 games below 500, and then the Yankees are 6 games above 500. So it's been disappointing. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I've said this on the radio side. So for people who've heard me say this on the radio side, I forgive myself for duplicating my comments, but I haven't said this on the podcast. Which is, I grew up an Orioles fan because we didn't have a team in DC. We were all Orioles fans. Rufus Peabody, who's known to many as a professional bettor, he also grew up an Orioles fan, and we had this debate last year, right? Where the Orioles at the trade deadline, they didn't do anything to try to improve and win the World Series. I don't know if you know this, Mark, but the object of all this is to win the World Series. And Rufus took the approach, because I got really frustrated by it. He took the approach. He was more critical of the manager and how he managed their, I believe it was was the Orioles in the postseason? Yeah, I believe it was in the postseason last year. But he was more critical of that. He wasn't, like, I got into the whole thing about the trade deadline, like, why didn't they trade prospects and go for it? This is why you accumulate prospects. And he took the position, I hope I'm not like misrepresenting, but he took the position, he goes, no, I'd rather they play for the dynasty, and have all of these, deep prospects. And I'm like, that's just not how you do it. And so this is, to me, is a great example of that, Mark, which is you have to go for it when you have a chance, because you are guaranteed nothing from year to year. And now look at them, 15-24, and you're telling me it's basically what they are.
Yeah, and it's tough because they've been hit with the injuries. That's really hard to predict, and that's, to me, it seems like they've always had injuries, Gil. It seems to me like it's been more prevalent the last couple of years, and like key guys, and so it makes those future markets really tough to bet. I've been bit with the Diamondbacks. They've lost Puck and Martinez, and those guys are top 5 relievers going into the season. I don't know if they're going to come back. They both have one guy's got forearm irritation, the other guy's got shoulder problems, and that's just it's so hard to predict when these guys are going to come out. So I would agree with you on that. If you're close, you might as well go for it, Gil.
Who's your best team in baseball? If you're the Mark Borchard Basewinner power rankings, who's your best team?
The D-backs are still, even with those guys missing, they have the biggest run differential. I'm gonna pull this thing out here.
This has nothing to do with Mark wearing a Diamondback shirt. Just happens to be wearing that.
I'm really glad because I've been here, Gil. I moved here in 1996, and so almost 30 years. And it took me so long to kind of adopt this team, and that's a problem with this team. I grew up an Angels fan primarily, but a Dodgers fan second. And I still enjoy watching the Dodgers play. I mean, it's a cathedral over there, but I finally kind of adopted this because I've got money riding on this team. But looking at the runs projected, this run scored per game, and the way I do this, it's last 500 plate appearances. I adjust it for park factors. They're number 2 in baseball. The Dodgers are just barely above them, and then so the way it shapes out with the run differential is them and the Dodgers are neck and neck, and it makes sense. Sometimes you look at this and you're like, gosh, where did I make the mistake? I should have taken a left turn at Albuquerque, right? But I looked at, you look at those numbers, the hitting numbers particularly. And I think the Diamondbacks are just underrated still.
Okay.
So that's just me.
If it's Arizona Dodgers, who's third? I'm curious. I'll leave it at 3.
Let's hold on. That's a good question. Let me go over there. Number 3 is the Yankees. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yankees. Wow. I'm surprised by that. Okay. Last thing before we go then. Awards. I'm putting you on the spot here. Is there anyone in MVP markets, Cy Young markets, or Rookie of the Year markets where you feel like they are grossly undervalued at current price that people should be looking to bet?
I don't know. I think that like the MVP, if it's not Judge, who is it going to be? I mean, you got to give it to him. And then Ohtani. So the hitting numbers are like there's Judge. And then he's 2 runs created plus above Ohtani, and Ohtani's like another run above everybody else. So for me, it's Ohtani and Judge in the MVP markets.
I'm gonna tell you who I bet. I'm gonna tell you who I'm betting in the NL MVP. I got him at 80 to 1, 50 to 1, and now at 25 to 1. Is Jackson Merrill of the Padres? I think he is. I mean, we all know right after his rookie campaign, he's a really good player. But I think he's beyond really good. I think he is special beyond belief. I think he got back onto the roster early enough. And I think this is the year where voters, right, let's say Shohei pitches 70 innings, right? Let's just hypothetically, let's go with 70 innings. And let's say it's okay, but it's only 70 innings. I have a feeling voters will use this year as the year that gives them an out on not to vote for Shohei. Whereas I think if he pitches a full season and hits a full season, they kind of have no choice. But I think this is the one year where they get a pass on that, and they're going to look for somebody else. And I think it's going to be Merrill, who up until last night, he had a bad game last night. He was 0 for 3. But up until last night, he has just been scorching. And that's who I put my money on at those numbers. Now, if it was a lower number, I wouldn't do it. Silence.
Yeah, it's just. I think the other thing too is with Ohtani's health, and you don't want to bet on guys who get hurt. That's probably not very nice. But he's been hurt, so it just Ohtani's the difference between him and really the next guy in the National League is almost a run. It's Corbin Carroll, then Marte, then Tucker. Merrill's up there. He's up in the top 6 or 7 guys in the National League. So it's not a bad idea. It's just that, gosh, it's hard to get past Ohtani for me. And just the speed too, and this. I'm not even talking about his pitching. I'm not even talking about the guy pitching. I'm saying this. I don't even think the guy's going to pitch. Why wouldn't he pitch now if they were going to pitch him? That staff has some issues, man. They were booing Landon Knack, and he didn't exit to my Sharona, that's for sure.
Well,
yesterday
you might have answered your own question. Why would they pitch him? Well, they might get around to it if it gets worse and worse. Although Kershaw's coming back this weekend, right? Okay, anything Cy Young?
But how good is he?
Yeah, we don't know. Cy Young or rookie? Anybody? AL or NL?
I don't know. Lawler. I'll take Lawler. That guy's going to find some time in a Diamondbacks team that's going to win the NL West. So why not?
Lawler, who just got activated, right? He just came up to the bigs for the Diamondbacks, their number one prospect. For NL Rookie of the Year, what number are you seeing on him right now? Do you know? Okay.
I don't know. I don't even have a number on him. He's going to win no matter. It's a good bet no matter what price, Gill.
No matter the price, he says. Sight unseen.
He's on the...
Jordan Lawler. All right. Okay.
Talking about this Rookie of the Year, because I put out a bunch of stuff early in the season, and I heard Jason talk about it, and I think he makes a really good point about the Rookie of the Year. I thought you just wait on that because you're not going to get the pricing for the most part. You're not going to get that great of a price before the season.
Well, I mean, I think this applies to a lot of even Cy Young. I mean, it was you, right? You came on here. What was it, 3 years ago? I don't even know. I can't even tell the distance of time now. But Robbie Ray, you came on the show on the radio side on July 31st. July 31st. There's only 2 months left in a regular season. And Robbie Ray was 100-1. And you said bet Robbie Ray, and he won the Cy Young. So I even think that applies. It's such a long season, right? It's forever, which is part of the reason why I'm betting Merrill now, because I just think we're still in the infancy stage. This is Q1, for God's sakes. I just feel like there's so much runway. And on some of these, you're right. There's no point in betting some of these till...
It's a dumb idea. Other than people expect it from me. So as somebody who puts out plays and previews and stuff for the season, you almost feel like you have to do it because people want to see it. So and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But from a logistic standpoint, I remember putting out the Rookie of the Year the day before I heard him talk, and he's so good with awards.
Talk about Jason.
I miss Jason. He used to do the show with us,
yes,
and I just miss him on the show. And we're so diametrically different from a handicapping style, but I just really enjoyed that. I really like that as a handicapper because I'm more of a tactician and a technician, and he does things just completely opposite of the. But I just love the way the guy handicaps.
Mark's talking about.
I thought it was a good point. So.
Mark's talking about Jason Weingarten. You can follow him at Spreadopedia as well. Great baseball handicapper. All right, Mark. I think that's it. I think we've done all we can do. Appreciate it. We'll do this again Q2, right around the halfway mark of the season. We'll do it again Q3 at the quarter pole of the season. Again, the whole point of this, not just, hey, look, this is interesting to look at, but what of these things could actually lead to winning bets. So there's a couple nuggets in there I think that people might latch onto, and hopefully that translates to dollar bills. Dollar bills, y'all. Mark, thank you.
How set on you on this Padres team? I'd like to make a little side bet with you, like a stake. I will take the D-backs versus Padres for a stake.
What are we basing it on? Their final record of the season?
Final record of the season.
A steak? That's it?
A steak dinner.
Okay. Steak dinner. You got it. Who's going to finish ahead of whom? The Diamondbacks or Padres? Right now, Padres 26-15. The Diamondbacks 22-21. So you give me a head start? I like it.
I'll give you the head start.
Head start taken. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mark. At Basewinner, basewinner.com. The easiest way to access the Bet US show is how?
Just do a search, Bet US MLB show, and you'll get it.
On the old Google? Is that what you're talking about? Just a search?
On YouTube. YouTube.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Mark Borchard, Basewinner. Check out all his stuff. Thank you for listening. Good luck with all your baseball bets right here on the Beating the Book podcast. Next podcast next week, French Open draw for all you tennis hardos. That's coming up right here on this feed.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.